Our guest today is the UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion of the World and the #1 star in MMA Nation. Give it up for Ronda Rousey.
There it is.
Love. Great day to have you on to Valentine's Day. One of the most dominant, plain-spoken, and attractive athletes in the world today.
There it is.
Plain-spoken. I haven't heard that before. But, yeah, thank you for keeping me working so I forget that I'm single.
And, Max, did you get Ronda anything for Valentine's Day?
You beat me to it. First of all, I bought the teddy bear and flowers, and for you to steal them and give them to her is an outrage.
That's a good way to clean it up.
John Bones Jones, I want to talk about this. You're aware of this quote, I'm sure, who since the decline of Anderson Silva is generally considered the best pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC, had some things to say about the promotion you're getting from the UFC. He told BloodyElbow.com, quote, I don't know if they're always necessarily pushing me. I do know that they're pushing Ronda Rousey really hard. What do you think about what John Bones Jones said about you?
You know, John's a good friend of mine, and I totally intend to be there to support him for his next fight. But, I mean, I hustle really hard to promote my fights, and I don't sit around and I don't wait for the UFC to come to me with things. I'm constantly pursuing things, and I also have other people outside the UFC always looking for, you know, just opportunities for me to promote my fights because I'm not a sure bet. I feel like with these fights, if they don't perform, it's like, it's not just me, it's the whole women's division that's at stake. So I'm always pushing every single fight like it's the end of the world. Whereas, you know, John's had a lot of views. He's been established for a long time. So I don't really feel like he really has that sense of urgency that I do when I have fights coming up. You know, I work hard to really get my fights out there.
Now, and this comment necessarily doesn't have to say that there's some jealousy involved, but I'm sure you've encountered some jealousy within the sport. What type of things have you encountered?
You know, actually, most of the guys are extremely respectful, all the time.
How about the gals?
The gals, not so much. You know, but no, the guys have always been super, super cool, and I hadn't heard about this at all until I heard it from the media themselves, and it's just like, it might come off as, yeah, sometimes I get a little bit more press, but I work really hard for that press.
Speaking of the gals not being as respectful all the time, why didn't you shake Miesha Tate's hand?
Well, she didn't deserve it. Because, well, I thought if this was like Rocky II and we were fighting alone in the gym and no one was watching, there's no way on God's green earth she would have offered me that hand. It was an action entirely influenced by her being watched. And my reaction was entirely despite us being watched, because a fake handshake is one I don't want, and I'm not going to shake the hand of somebody that's really insulted and done wrong by the people that I consider my family. It doesn't wipe everything clean just because you lost. You have to make the apology first, have the apology be accepted, and then I'll consider shaking your hand.
What is it about not just UFC fighters, but boxers, somebody I think of a Tim Bradley or Chael Sonnen, and you? When I talk about my favorite people to interview, you guys don't duck the question, and you're so honest and intimate in your response. Do you think there's a connection to fighting and that type of personality?
No, because there's a lot of fighters that are boring. It's just that I really embraced being the bad guy and the heel. I came up loving, you know, professional wrestling. I mean, rowdy Ronda Rousey comes from rowdy Roddy Piper, who's one of the best heels of all time. I think it's interesting to be the bad guy. I think the Joker is way cooler to watch than Batman. And so it really leaves a lot of room for error, and I don't have to give Miss America questions or like I'm running for office. I can just I can not only just say my opinion, but I can even go a little bit over the top sometimes for the sake of entertainment. And it's more fun that way. I enjoy my job that way.
So in my sport of football, we all witnessed the moment where Richard Sherman of the Seattle Seahawks, after a game with a competitor, one of his opponents, you know, he showed him up, and in that same moment said that he was mediocre. What was your response to that moment?
You know what? It's a really emotional time. I always say I hate my interviews after a fight more than anything else, because it's my most incomprehensible moment that you're making me talk to all these people and putting me on the spot. I mean, it's not like we're sitting here in a studio and, you know, okay, I know that I'm in press day right now. It's like, okay, I was just in super performance kill mode and like, tell us, make a statement right now. You know, it's like you're not in your right mindset right then, you know, and people that aren't competing at that level, it's hard for them to understand because they're relaxing on their couch at that moment. So how can they really understand how somebody's feeling that just has a million things at once going on in their head?
That's why we ask the questions, because they want to know. That's the moment people want to know about, right?
And that's why I answer in the way that I do to tell you.
So now we're in, you're in press mode. What is your feeling about marijuana testing in the UFC? This has been a topic in the NFL.
Well, the UFC, in sports in general, I feel like it's not a performance-enhancing drug. We are only tested for it for political reasons.
Thank you. Exactly. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I mean, if we're tested by the athletic commission or by, you know, whatever athletic body is overseeing it, we shouldn't. It's outside their rights to test us for things that have nothing to do with athletic competition. And it's an invasion of privacy, really. If they say, oh, it's not because it's a performance-enhancing drug, it's because it's a performance-inhibiting drug and you're putting yourself in danger, then why don't you test me for alcohol and make sure I'm not wasted?
Right. Exactly right. Yeah, well, they'll argue that it's legal. They'll argue the legality, which is based on myth and nonsense anyway. Yeah. That's right, Marcellus. You don't want to follow up on that one?
No, I don't, because I wouldn't have played one game in the NFL if it was alcohol testing. I just say that.
Why does what does Sarah McMahon, your opponent for UFC 170, what does she do well?
Well, she's an Olympic silver medalist wrestler, and obviously she's a fantastic wrestler, and she's obviously pretty good at MMA too, because she's undefeated up to this point. I say up to this point because I don't think she's going to be undefeated anymore after we fight, but I definitely think that she's the highest caliber athlete outside of myself in women's MMA right now, and I think this is a big milestone for MMA in general to have, you know, people used to look at us like they'd found two guys in a bar, they paid them a couple $100 and they had them fight, and that's what the sport was. And now it's like, okay, you can't celebrate me and Sarah representing the Olympic team in one venue and then condemn us in another.
Real quick, how do you beat her?
Why would I tell you that right now?
Man.
All right.
Ask me afterward. Invite me back.
Always. You got
more teddy bears.
You got a standing invitation to come back. Teddy bears? You want teddy bears? Get her some more teddy bears. How does the upcoming fight interfere with your Valentine's Day? You've been outspoken about the topic of intimacy before a fight.
Yeah, and I have cursed myself with this topic. I brought it up, and I've just been out of luck. But it's all right, you know. I'm working right now, and my eyes are open, but I just don't have the time to really, you know, go. I haven't had a day off since July, you know, and I'm just hustling right now. I don't want to have to be dependent on anybody anytime later in the future, and then it's just kind of like, all right, whatever. I'm single right now, so I'm working on Valentine's. If I didn't have a fight, then I would just be sitting around at home eating Ben & Jerry's right now. So I'm happy to have a fight right now.
I imagine you get propositioned wherever you go, like more even than another attractive female of your age. Is that correct?
I mean, it's like one or the other. It's either like people are scared to approach me at all, or they're just like, hi, nice to meet you, can I marry you? And it's...
the Marcellus Wileys of the world.
I just want a latte,
the middle step.
You know, that's all. That's really...
Someone get her a latte for crying out loud.
Yeah, right.
Nation, give it up for Ronda Rousey.
Take me to lunch. Calm down.